It's a trap. And it's such an easy trap to fall into as well. And the funny thing is, it comes from a bit of a device that's actually good and sound, and is about preserving the low end of your mix and getting good clarity. And the advice that always comes up is high pass everything. That is a good bit of advice. Having just those few elements filling the smaller frequency space of the low end will help give you clarity in that space and ideally a better mix. Well, he's put the EQ at 89 Hertz and rolled off all the subs so it doesn't affect his sub bass. Wrong. Are you using the same kit, the same bass? Are you in the same key? Are you at the same tempo? Well, you're gonna have a copyright issue. That's a totally separate video. Unless, of course, you release that with Distrokid, who can get you an official license to release a cover version of your song. Distrokid can get all of your music onto all of the major streaming platforms, as well as many of the smaller ones as well. When you upload your cover song, you can also apply for a cover song license, having all of that area covered for you as well, saving some serious headaches. Head to the link in the description below for a discount on your first year. But if you do it in a non-copy paste cookie cutter kind of way, it can really help your mix just stand out a little bit better. If that's a pretty solid mix for you and you like all the separation, then let's break down how we can do that using the high pass. All right, so we can see just at a glance, there's a couple of channels where I've used the stock EQ and I've got high passes going on. And it's likely happening on a lot of the other ones as well, where I've got, say, neutron here, for example, and some other spaces. So let's go over some key points. The first thing is, when you listen to a sound, is the low end in that sound beneficial? So let's take these three guys that I've got here. So we've got these three sounds and all sound like they're higher end melodies. They're not bass focused sounds. Let's take just this lead individually. Now we know we've got some kind of high pass on here. It's just an ES2 lead. If we open it up, I'm high passing here around the 100. Now initially, look, I had a lift in there, but in the end, I've taken it out and just high passed it away. But I still get, you know, kind of a flat response here as a result, right? Now here's the simple thing to do. Let's pop the analyzer on. There's no defined note in that area, right? We can see the clear note is around here, around 200, and I'm rolling off a bit after, but there is a bass tone. Now something you can do to find out if it's not as obvious as that, if there is worthy bass end, let's kind of do the opposite to this. What we'll do, we'll disable this EQ. So what we can do instead to figure this out, stick on a low pass and roll it down. So there, we've got the lowest note. And when the lowest notes aren't in, what are we left with? Right, so we can see we've got this low end, which in some cases is coming up as high as some of the notes, right? Especially around at the 20 here. But it serves no purpose. We can listen to it in isolation like this. It's not tonal, it's not reinforcing anything. It's just there as pure noise. It's not benefiting the sound whatsoever. So in that kind of situation, we're going to get rid of that. We don't need it. It doesn't benefit the song. Now, how do we do that? How did I get to the result of, say, bringing it off to 100? Well, we'll turn the analyzer off, and now we're going to do it by ear, and we're going to A and B it. I don't want anything to become lost in the sound. I still want the same sound to be there, just that useless stuff that was in the low end to go away. And there's no real change. Now, if I was to bring that up to, say, 200, which is roughly where that bottom tone is, now we get a clear change. So the way I'm dialing it in is to sort of bring it up and A and B it and see if I'm losing something from the sound, it's having a negative effect. And this is how we end up with a mix that's way too thin. Now here's one that might surprise you. Here's the instruments bus for this track. It's got our strings and other bits in there, right? The only thing on it is FabFilter and it's high passed. And it's high passed to 68.3 Hertz. It's just where it got dialed into. And very simply, that's done with the same method of just A and Bing. That's not taking anything out, but it's just rolling off. And we can see, you know, if I were to bring it up a little bit higher, we start to lose the bottom of the strings. Any lower, and there's no real difference. There's nothing in here that needs that low end space. There's nothing tonal, so we make sure it's cut away, and that then, for example, the bass line can fit in that space. Now we can see that the low end harmonica, the bass line, has got all this space to itself, and we can see that they're harmonically lined up. Now these guys here are clashing, but they're not causing a problem with each other. Down here in the real low end, where we've only got 20 to 50, so about 30 frequencies to work with, we just want it to have its own space and not be fighting. We can see the same thing here with the break. The key drum, the kick frequency's got its own space here. Now, I could probably get rid of this low end here in the drums, but it wasn't causing an issue in the mix, so I haven't. I've left it with that extra energy. Let's condense this down to 5 key points. 1, is that low end beneficial to that sound? 2, check for tonality using that low pass. 3, does it work with the kick? Does it reinforce it or does it hinder it? A and B the high pass to make sure you haven't lost the body of the overall sound and it hasn't become thin, and high pass your buses as well. So as you can see, doing this can really help your track and give you nice clarity, spacing in a mix, and help you achieve a nicer balance as well. Now another technique you can use to really help you balance your track and get mix clarity is using mono mixing, and I covered that in this video here, and that's probably the one that you should watch next.